You're listening to the Fandom Bricks podcast, sponsored by Light-Tailing LED lighting kits for your Lego. Use the code Fandom23 to get 10% off. Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fandom Bricks podcast. I am Sam, better known as Bite Size Bricks, and I am joined tonight by my co-host.
Hi, I am Josh, better known as the Galaxy of Bricks.
How are you doing, Josh?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. We've had a lot of good Star Wars this week.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, it's been a really good week.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get onto it later. We're going to talk about The Mandalorian. If I just give a quick rundown of what we're actually going to talk about today. So we are going to be talking Jedi Survivor trailer because we've got the final kind of gameplay trailer before the game comes out. We're going to veer away from Star Wars a little bit and talk about the other Star and go for a Star Trek kind of draft or pick. And then we are going to talk about Mandalorian Chapter 20. We'll do a quick review and then talk about what set we want from that. And then we're going to go into our minifig draft. So we've got lots to cover. So to start off, Josh, I think we're going to go into the Jedi Survivor trailer. First of all, what did you think of it?
It's been a long 5 years for Cal Kestis. That's all I'm saying.
It looks like a lot has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they've done in the respects of how they formatted it, and it's basically taking what worked for Fallen Order, added a few elements, but kept the same basic thing. It's basically if Dark Souls met Star Wars, and I am all for it.
Yeah, no, it does look, it looks really good. And I'm glad they released this gameplay trailer. I really liked the first trailer that was kind of like the teaser trailer. But this gameplay trailer, I think, really highlighted all the things that fans were kind of crying out for after the first game. So it looks like there's more abilities, more people that you're going to be working with. Obviously, there's going to be more Jedi in it, which we can talk about in a minute. And they're bringing back the characters that I think people are waiting to see. So in this trailer, we saw Merrin, and we didn't see her in the first trailer. So we know that she's coming back. I think everybody kind of assumed that would happen anyway. But no, I thought it looked really good. But the key question is, if you were going to take any sets, because we have been pushing for Jedi Fallen Order sets for a long time, and as you can see, I've got my BD1 front and center and my little microfighter mantis here that I've made just for this podcast. There you go. I've got a little Cal Kestis flying around next to me. If you could have a set from this trailer, what would you go for?
I'm going to sound like I'm beating the horse and I'm just repeatedly flagging the same thing, but Stinger Mantis, Stinger Mantis, Stinger Mantis, and Stinger Mantis.
It's got to happen, hasn't it?
Yeah, like, it'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, I think it just seems like the most obvious set, and I think that way you are covering both games as well. You don't have to do much to it. You may want to update it for the new game, but yeah, I think you get a Mantis, you get Cal, BD1, Seer, and kind of the whole crew in it. I think it's a no-brainer, really.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, again, looking at the trailer, watching the gameplay, watching how they've structured it, it's almost as if they want you to kind of focus away from the Stinger Mantis and focus more on the story. But the Stinger Mantis is a crucial part of the story as well, because it has been the thing that has gotten them from planet to planet as they've discovered, you know, different things, and they've sort of engaged with the story that they're telling. And I think if they're going to do it, they have to pull the trigger on a set like the Stinger Mantis soon, before people just go, they're never going to do it, why are we bothering? And that'd be it then, really. Like, the time is ticking for them to do it, and to do it properly.
Yeah, I think realistically now is the time, isn't it? You've got the new game coming out, all the hype is surrounding it. Now seems to be like the time that Lego, and we've talked about it a lot of times, they're all about the business, aren't they? They want to sell and they want to make money, and now just seems like the best time that they're going to get a bit of a cash grab out of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you've obviously gone for the Mantis there. Sets that I were kind of thinking about, I'm thinking of kind of expanding and doing smaller sets maybe, but I really like the idea of this Jedi that's in it. So in this gameplay trailer, we saw that he actually, and this is another thing that I've been trying to push as much as Josh has been pushing the Stinger Mantis, he's got High Republic logo on his Jedi robes. So what it looks like is that this Jedi has been in stasis, has maybe been in this kind of back to tank thing, and has kind of been rotting away whilst all of the Republic has gone on, the fall of the Jedi, everything, and he's now woken up and the Republic's gone, the Jedi have gone. I think that looks like a really interesting character. So maybe like a set with him in it, I think would be really cool. They've got this other guy that Cal seems to be teaming up with as well. So I think because it's a game, I feel like you want to get as many minifigs out of it as possible, recreate some scenes. But yeah, I think we're both agreed that the most obvious one out of it would be to do the Mantis.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you in respect of like the minifigures and stuff, because obviously the interesting aspects of it are obviously the new villain is that large, is the Gendai, the same species as
the guy from The Force Awakens, isn't it?
Yeah, from The Force Awakens as well, and it's a species that hasn't been touched upon in Star Wars lore very often. And then obviously we've got the Pawn Senator as well, from the same species from Utapau, which is another one as well that we don't talk about very often, because we've got the Grand Inquisitor who is of that species, and we don't get those. So I think in terms of just diversifying minifigures, it seems like it'd be a no-brainer. I mean, obviously they'd have to do completely new like molds and sculpts for some of the characters, and they'd have to do some like designs and stuff. But I feel like if they've got a game that is gonna appeal to the fans of the first game, which you and I both are, if they want to try and broaden it to other people as well, and they want to try and shift some Lego sets, then you're gonna have to give us some good sets with the minifigures. And I think the minifigures would be a crucial part of doing a Jedi Survivor / Fallen Order sort of theme. It'd be the minifigures that would sell it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later, I think it's debatable whether Fallen Order is official canon or not, and just even touching on the subject of whether something is canon is a dangerous area to go. But if we are considering it canon, it feels like this is a story that may be touched on in other stories later down the line, and start to link in. I know that we've had I think it was a comic series about Seer Junda as a Padawan or as a Jedi. And so these are stories that are going to link in across the board. And it almost seems like Lego don't want to touch it because it's a game and because it hasn't had these strong links with canon as we know it, the films and the Disney Plus series. But it seems odd, because I think the feeling that I get talking to people is that people are just as excited for this as they were for Mandalorian Season 3. And yet for Mando, we're getting a set a week at the moment being announced. So yeah, I think it's long overdue, a set from Jedi Fallen Order or the Jedi series. Right.
Yeah, I get what you mean. And I think as well, just to touch on what you've said, just to quickly before we do anything else, but when you made it very clear about, obviously, the term canon as a whole, which we are going to touch on, is a very broad sort of thing. And I think having it set in a game universe is good, because there is a little bit of creative license, there is a little bit of creative freedom, things like that. And if you actually, this is a fun factoid, if you look at the timeline of Fallen Order and things like that, and you look at the timeline of Jedi Survivor, which is 5 years after Fallen Order, it's only about 10 years or so since the end of Revenge of the Sith, thereabouts. So in terms of that, like, Star Wars Rebels is kind of like going on at a sort of similar time to that. That is a good point. The Bad Batch is, in terms of like canon and stuff, is a little bit after as well. So
we know that there's Rex and Wolf and there's other clones that are definitely kicking about at this time. Obviously the crew of the Ghost are kicking around. There's lots of other things going on, and like you say, the 10-year sort of time gap from Revenge of the Sith is pretty much smack bang in the middle between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So there's a lot of things, and I think obviously since Disney have taken over, they've kind of crammed loads of things into those stories. Of thinking, like, we have had Rebels, we've had Andor, Obi-Wan, Jedi Fallen Order, Bad Batch. There's loads of stories now going on around this time. So it's not unreasonable to think that at some point in this story we will get a crossover with another character. In the last game, obviously we met Saw Gerrera in the game, who has obviously been in Andor now, but also Rogue One. So yeah, I think there's loads of scope for it to kind of connect to other stories again.
Exactly, and he's a character that's been in Clone Wars and Rebels as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible, and I think if they were to do something like that, it would bridge it nicely into the universe. Again, it doesn't have to be big. They've done a set with BD1, which is nicely displayed in front of you there. So they've touched on it briefly, but I feel like, if they're going to do it, don't just give us another droid, because we always get droids that are companions. Give us something that people can sort of appreciate that little bit more, because they know that it may be a once-in-a-lifetime thing that they'll do it, and then once the game series is over, they're never going to do sets of it again. So if from a marketing standpoint, you would want to go for something that you could shift a load of units of, make a little bit of money from it, knowing that they would be limited run when the game is over, once the series is over, and you're not going to have to do it again. That's it.
I think now that Lego own Bricklink, all they have to do is look at the Ghost, because the Mantis will become the Ghost in 5-10 years time. People will look back and they will be desperate to have this set, because it will become, I think this story will become a huge part of the game, because it's a long story, the first game, and this is going to be just as long. The likelihood is they're going to do a third in the series as well. So I honestly, we've talked about it so much now, it just blows our minds that they haven't gone for it.
Hey,
Madness.
Again, it's we're just two guys on a podcast. We just talk about these things. It's up to other people to make these decisions.
We know nothing, but we still believe that we would earn Lego a lot of money.
Hey, it is what it is.
Okay, so obviously both very excited for the game. I'm looking forward to seeing the story, but desperate for sets.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so Josh, I'm going to let you introduce the next topic, because this is one that's come from you, and I've had to do a bit of research into this. So I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you. So, as many of you streamers and listeners and viewers will know, Star Wars is a very big thing in mine and Sam's lives. We are very big Star Wars fans, but I myself am also a big fan of the other Star series, i.e. Star Trek, and it is something that I've touched upon on my TikTok lives with various other content creators. It's something that I have spoken about in Late Night Lego with Pod Bricks and Michael Bishop as well, and some really good friends of the podcast. But obviously the licensing for Lego doesn't allow them to have Star Trek because it is owned by another property. And my thought was, we do Star Wars a lot, let's have a little bit of fun. So this is all hypothetical. At the time of recording this podcast, Lego does not own the rights to Star Trek. This is just a hypothetical what-if scenario. And my thought to Sam was, if you could have one ship from the Star Trek universe as a Lego set, what would you have? And kind of have it as a discussion. So Sam, obviously this is not your bag, so I'm going to let you go first as best as you can. So tell myself and everyone, what did you go for?
Okay, well, before I reveal exactly what I went for, we obviously spoke about this before. When I was a lot younger, I used to watch Next Generation all the time, and I really enjoyed it. But when researching this, I realised I didn't remember a lot of it at all. Or misremembered maybe. So I put a stipulation on this, and it was more for my own research, that purely because it's like the big obvious one. We're going to, within this, what set would you go for? We are assuming that Lego are doing a UCS Enterprise. And so we're taking that off the table because that would be the obvious one to go for. So Lego are doing a UCS Enterprise. I did some research, and I immediately, after looking at ships, decided I wanted to go not on the good side. So I didn't want to go for Starfleet. I ended up, and I think this would make an awesome Lego set, I've ended up going for a Klingon bird of prey.
Ooh, old school.
Yeah.
Old school.
So for those of you that don't know, I will make sure I will put a picture up, because I'm sure there's lots of people like me that don't know these ships as well, but I'll put a picture up. But essentially you've got almost like the command deck right in front of the ship, and it kind of branches off to the back, and you've got two big, it's almost like a V19 Torrent for the like Star Wars fans out there. It's a similar sort of shape, but you've got like an elongated front. It is very reminiscent of a bird, but I just think that this sort of the reason why I went for this is it lends itself to a lot of swooshability. I feel like you could get a good grip on it, and for kids buying this as a play set, I feel like this would be an awesome, and even if it was a display set, if we went UCS with it, it just looks like an awesome ship, and it's different. I'm thinking color wise, it's a very different, obviously it's like greens and browns, so again it makes it stand out from the kind of standard grey big spaceship that we're used to. So yeah, those are kind of the reasons behind it. I can't say I've gone into any like personal preference. I've just looked at a lot of ships and kind of honed down on this one purely for swooshability. Josh, I don't know if that's like a terrible choice or not, but you'll know better than
No,
me.
do you know what? Actually, that's quite good because I think it's one of those iconic. Again, you're talking about swooshability. You know, it's you can see a kid just go, like with a bird of prey. That's fair, and I think it's an iconic ship from that universe as well. You know, it's because Klingons and birds of prey have been a big part of the universe since the 1960s, and they've been enemies, they've been allies. The Star Trek Discovery series has had them and has reinvented them. You've had the obviously the J.J. Abrams movies, which a lot of people are very hot and cold with. Some people like them, some people don't.
I'm a fan of, but I feel like that might be I'm not as deep into Star Trek lore as some people, and so for me as an outsider, those films they felt like a good gateway into that universe.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But I think I'm assuming then you're going to go for like next generation, early sort of era style bird of prey as well. You're going to go for like one of the earliest designed ones because you might as well.
Yeah, well, I feel like that is what I've gone for. So yeah, I think, and what I did actually do, because I think I had a couple of others that I was looking at. I was looking at scale models. So obviously they do like the Starfleet kind of.
Yeah.
They look like sort of, I don't know what, it's sort of like 1 to 500 scale, maybe like this sort of size. But there were lots of them, and I was kind of looking at that like as a model, what does it look like, because you try and match it up to, obviously we're talking Lego, so yeah, I think that's what I've settled.
No, Eagle Moss is a really good one to sort of compare it to. They do a lot of the official lot of sort of model designs for collectors, and they have their own website and you collect things like that. So I think if you're going to compare it to something like that, that's a very good thing. And as well, like you could have it on a display stand with a bit of a description, what it is, who it belongs to, some of its dimensions, some of its armaments, things like that. You could have a couple of Klingon warriors as minifigures on either side of it. You could have it displayed on its side. You could have it displayed forward. You could have it displayed in a variety of different ways. So I think as a set, that isn't a bad choice. That's actually quite a good choice. I think
I felt like you were selling it for me then until you went, as I say, it's not a bad choice, because in the back of your head you're thinking my choice is way better.
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is different because you've gone for one end of the spectrum. I've gone for the other end of the spectrum. I'm thinking that would be a good sort of early kind of in to a universe that you're not familiar with, just because it would look cool. And like you can imagine the satisfaction you would have if you're a child or a youngish person building that and just seeing like all the green and the browns, because it'd be a color palette that Lego doesn't do very often. So that in itself, I think that would sell in the respect of its color palette is just, wow, this looks cool, let's go for that. So yeah, it's a solid choice. I don't have any issues with your choice there. So
okay,
very good.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
For being very unknowledgeable. I'm pleased that it's well received. Okay then, Josh, you're the man in the know. So what did you go for?
Right, you see, here's the thing. We can't have a UCS Enterprise because there's like 7 of them.
Okay.
Because obviously you've got the 60s one, you've got the rehash ones, and then up till like there's like the E, the F, etc.
So we go J.J. Abrams one, right?
I've not
just
even,
to wind people up.
Yeah, the massive like 10th of the size of it. No, I've actually picked one of my favourite Star Wars, that's a different thing. One of my favourite Star Trek series that I absolutely loved growing up. I had it on DVD and I would just watch it. And I have cheated a little bit because I've not gone for a ship.
Oh, okay.
I have gone for a station.
Nice. I think I would accept it.
Yeah, and I'm picking Deep Space Nine.
Okay, nice. I know what that is. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I knew you would know.
That's a win already.
But I'm thinking if they were to do a Deep Space Nine, I would want it as kind of like a playset sort of thing, or it would be akin to not like the Death Star in respect of like features, but it would be a large scale on the very high end price bracket, £600. It would be a massive Deep Space Nine with all the pylons and all the pillars. You would get a couple of micro scale ships you could attach to the pillars like you can do in the show. You could have the minifigures with it as well. And there were 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine in the 1990s. And you could have characters from each season, some of the main crew, a couple of the background characters, some of the main iconic villains of the series, and you can interchange them like you can do with the UCS Falcon. And you could have it on a stand, you could hang it from the ceiling, you could stick it on the wall. Hey, I'm just thinking that for me would be like top tier UCS Star Trek set for me.
That would be very cool. And actually, I'll try and get a picture up of this if I remember anyway. I have seen like mock builds of the Trade Federation ships from episode
the Lucre
1.
Hulk. Yeah, the Lucre Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously this is probably larger, even larger scale, but certainly the center of Deep Space Nine is quite similar, isn't it? To that sort of style anyway. So I almost feel like you just build it out more and have everything coming off of it. So I think you're right. I think it's a great set. My only concern, having owned Cloud City, is these sets. Like, where do you display them? You've got to have some serious space to get that in somewhere.
Yeah, I know, and I would also settle for a small downscale non-playset Deep Space Nine that you could have on display, and you could have it with a couple of characters, a mini sort of USS Defiant with it, and you could have that similar to obviously like a Star Destroyer kind of scale, or as a Nebulon B frigate scale as well.
Yeah.
Just so it doesn't have to be like a playset, but it's just something iconic that you can build. It comes with a couple of minifigures as well. Like Thor's hammer is a prime example. That's quite big, but it comes with like a little mini Thor. I think this one would come with a really nice, cool Captain Sisko minifigure. You know, Avery Brooks, bald head, beard. There nice. You go. I'm for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great shout. I really like the idea of like a small, almost like you could almost do it helmet size.
Yeah.
On like with like a little plaque and then maybe a stand for a couple of minifigs or something underneath it. I think that's a good sell.
Yeah, and I think that would make a really fun kind of like, as even if you do it as like a one-off theme, you could do it as like all the shows and movies. You could do like a sub theme, and you would have a small buildable, posable scale, one of each main series' ship or station with a minifigure and a display stand, and you could call it, I don't know, the ships of Star Trek, and like, you know, and then do it as a series, and then you could do like all the main ones first and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I think one thing that I hadn't mentioned that I had planned on mentioning earlier, because I thought it was the first thing I thought about when you mentioned this, Brickfest last year, the very first table that you saw walking into Brickfest, someone had made mocks of loads of Star Trek ships, hadn't they?
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I don't think Jacob's ever even seen Star Trek before, but he was immediately drawn to these ships, was sort of pointing them out how cool they looked. So yeah, I think it's something that will appeal, and I think Star Trek itself is I guess in the sort of past decade or so, maybe even longer, has had a bit of an identity crisis, hasn't it? It seems to be trying to cover too many. Like, I know that they've done Discovery, and I started watching Discovery, and I thought it was a really good show, but it didn't. I guess I didn't know the world enough to want to kind of stick around for it. Then they've obviously done Picard. They've done Lower Decks, which again is to like a completely different audience as well. And I feel like Lego is like the great equalizer, isn't it? Like everyone loves Lego. And I feel like even from a Star Trek rather than a Lego point of view, this might be a way in for a younger audience and to get a whole different generation looking at your products, because I do think a large portion of Star Wars fans, I have children in my classes that I teach that own Star Wars Lego but have never actually watched Star Wars, but they say they like Star Wars because they've got the Lego sets and things. So they've
never seen the movies. Yeah,
I think it is a way in for people. So I think again, Lego needs to take tips from you, Josh. They'll pick up some stuff.
Hey, I mean, I'm here for it, and if they want somebody to campaign in it and they want to send me like free prototype sets to model and talk about on my TikTok, I will gladly do it. It is not an issue. I'm all for it. I'm all about brand recognition, and I'm all about equality and things like that. And I think, as Sam rightfully pointed out, it suffered from an identity crisis. Discovery was good, then it jumped the shark a little bit when they went to the future. Lower Decks is aimed more at kids. That would make a very good Brickhead series, Lower Decks.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And then obviously we've got Strange New Worlds, which is kind of like the spin-off of Discovery, which is set before the original series. And we've got Picard, which I haven't watched the new series yet because I kind of drifted off the second series. So there's a lot of options there, but I think the only downside to doing Star Trek is trying to cater to all avenues of a franchise that is over like 60 years old. Because are you going to want to do original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager? Are you going to want to do some of the movies? Are you going to do some of the spin-offs? You could get too bogged down too quickly with something like that. So if you to be smart, you'd have to kind of plan it out that way. You could maybe do like a mystery minifigure line, a CMF line with like iconic Star Trek characters as mystery minifigures.
Yeah,
I
that
think might work.
I think you're right. That's not something that I thought about. And obviously, Star Wars being such an established brand within Lego, they don't need to work. But even then, within Star Wars, like we'll go a couple of years without a clone era set, and people will start kicking off. And then you go a couple of years without Empire or Imperial set, people start kicking off. So you can imagine with something that has been around just as long, it's going to be really tricky to find that balance.
Yeah, you'd have to tread very carefully because obviously Mega Constructs had a few sets, and obviously I think it's Blue Bricks has the licensing for Star Trek now, and I think Playmobil even have a USS Enterprise in Playmobil as well, which is something that completely shocked me. But you have to kind of look at it from this avenue. If you were Lego and you were, wanting to be this massive, all-consuming conglomerate that makes, construction toys for children to learn and things like that, and you wanted to sweep Star Trek in, you would have to find the perfect sort of era of Star Trek to have your prototype launch set and then work from there. Because if sales tank, you're not going to bother. If sales do quite well, you can experiment a little bit. And I mean, there's a whole slew of possible set ideas you could come up with. Microfighters would be a good one. Brickheads would be a good one. A couple of small sets from iconic series. So there's options. You've just got to kind of play it very carefully if you are their branding officer.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you're welcome, everyone, for us diverting away from Star Wars for 5-10 minutes.
Absolutely.
It doesn't happen very often on our...
Because, I mean, we are going to go back to it. Like, we are going back to Star Wars again.
It was just an intermission, really.
Because I think our next topic will be the longest one we do because of how good it has been. And for those of you who have not seen our previous episode, Sam and I have come up with a really new format for the podcast, and people seem to really like it, and we want to try and continue that. And I think Sam will pitch this to you in a way that you guys will absolutely love it. So, Sam, do you want to pitch our next topic to the people?
Yeah, so we obviously started last week with The Mandalorian coming back, and the first 2 episodes, so chapter 17 and 18, a week past each of those episodes, Lego announced a set from those episodes, and it got us thinking, if we were Lego, what set would we take from each episode, or what scene would we take from each episode and turn into a set? So last week, myself and Josh pitched a set from chapter 19, and we pitched it to you guys, and actually we had a really good response. I went for the mind flare scene, Dr. Pershing losing his mind, and Josh went for the kind of Imperial Lab gunship police showdown scene, which was a really cool one. We had quite a few votes on it, and we managed to sit exactly at 50-50. We checked just before time of recording, and it is exactly 50-50, so we'll take that one, won't we, Josh?
Yeah, that, to be fair, I think because of how much of a different topic it was for us, I know, different approach to it, I'm happy that the first one was a draw, because can you imagine how gutted you'd be thinking to yourself, people really don't want to see a doctor get his mind fried, or nobody really wants to see, the inside of an Imperial lab with a cool little gunship. So yeah, I think it worked very well, so I'm excited for this one because it was a good episode. And
we're going to get into that first, I think. So we spoke a little bit about, after the podcast last time, about would people be interested in listening to us actually talk just about the episode before talking about Lego. And so we're going to give it a go this week.
Yeah, and there are spoilers ahead for those of you who have not seen the latest episode of The Mandalorian. So please be warned, you will get some really insider information if you've not seen it.
Yeah. So we're going to do it this week anyway, and we'll see whether people are interested or not, and then we may cut this completely moving forward. So first of all, without going into massive detail, Josh, what were your initial reactions from the episode? What were your thoughts on it?
I really liked it. I think the structure of it was good because we had an episode where it was Mandalorian and Bo-Katan at the start, and then we had the whole Dr. Pershing sort of off on Coruscant doing his thing and then getting lobotomized by, twisting of a dial. And then it was nice to go back to a sort of, this is what Mando is doing with the convert, and this is what that aspect of it is, because we actually don't know a lot about Mandalorian culture post the Imperial era. We know what it was like during the Clone Wars, we know what it was like during Rebels, but after the Empire destroyed Mandalore, we actually don't know a lot about it. So it's kind of good to see what the convert does when they're not saving the universe, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually thought that the structure of this episode was sort of similar to the last episode in that you kind of started with Mando and Grogu, then we had a diversion away, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then we came back to the covert afterwards. And I do think that works quite well for the Mandalorian, because obviously we have had 2 series of Adventure of the Week. It's Mandalorian going off an adventure, helping someone out to try and achieve something and move on to the next step. And it's just been kind of churning out all these adventures, and it's slowly kind of weaving this story of Grogu developing and turning into a Mandalorian, and Mando meeting all these other Mandalorians, and Luke Skywalker dropping in. So it's been following all these other stories, but actually now we're on to season 3. It is time to kind of tell that wider, so what else is going on in the universe at this time. And obviously we had a great episode last week where they're starting to do that. This is what's going on. The New Republic are trying to take in ex-Imperials and trying to use them, which I thought was a nice kind of parallel to mainly the Americans hiring Germans after the war, and certainly scientists, and there's very famous examples of where that went wrong. So I like this. Here's a bit of the story, now here's a bit of this other story, and then we finish off the other story, because it seems to tie things up but also expand the world even more. So yeah, like you said, we don't know a lot about the Mandalorians. I think a lot of people went into the show when it started 4-5 years ago thinking, I know loads about Mandalorians, but they just seem to keep drip feeding all these nice little details in. Before we get into that cutaway scene, I have to say it did make me laugh at the end when Bo-Katan is getting her signet and she chooses the mythosaur, and all that was going through my head is Lego have just released a new Bo-Katan minifigure and now they're going to have to do another one again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I sat there and I thought to myself, I was like, oh, okay. But then part of me also thought to myself, oh God, are they going to give Bo-Katan a whole new set of Beskar armor like they've done the Mandalorian? Are we going to get another, very much like they've given us Bo-Katan, obviously with this spider droid thing, but we're going to have to get a new one, and the only difference is she's got a Beskar pauldron. Next thing you know, we're going to end up having to get a full Beskar Bo-Katan. That would just be oh, no.
I can see it happening. Okay, so we need to talk about a certain scene, or as in the text thread that I have with my sister and my brother and her boyfriend. It's the scene in the episode. When I'm talking about the scene, people know what about. Jar Jar Binks saves Grogu.
I mean, I didn't twig until afterwards, and I sat there and I was just like, "What a redemption arc for that guy!"
Ahmed Best is the best guy.
No
what
pun
a hero
intended there, by the way.
No, I know, but I remember Star Wars Celebration. I think it was a couple of celebrations ago, because he kind of goes to these things anyway. There was a photo going around of him and Hayden Christensen, and it was one of those I just remember it just it literally went through the internet like wildfire, and how everybody, because he was kind of doing his talk about how he he went through this really dark spot in his life after Jar Jar Binks. I think he was close to suicide at one point, and how the kind of community has turned on this character. And actually, children, when I was 10 years old when episode 1 came out, and I grew up loving that character, loving the films, and I think as that turned, the perception on him turned, and then they ended up giving him this, I think it was called Jedi Challenges, like sort of game show thing with kids. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was on YouTube Kids, no. YouTube Kids and Star Wars Kids. You might want to go back. And that's where they introduced this Jedi Master Kelleran Beck. And everybody was sort of like, oh, he's officially a Jedi now. And then some people obviously were like, this isn't canon. It's a kids game show sort of thing. And then as soon as I heard her, the Jedi downstairs, like send him up in the elevator up to Kelleran, I was like, my mind went. I was like, this is the best thing. And I was just sat there staring at actually, I was staring at my phone screen because I was watching it before school. And I was there and I was like, is it actually going to be him? Is it going to be, because I had just putting it out there before Mando season 3, I had mocked up like a set of Grogu's escape where Jar Jar Binks had saved him, and my deep hope was that Jar Jar Binks was going to have the redemption arc. But I think it's even better that Ahmed Best gets the redemption arc, and his Jedi is the one that saves Grogu. And then there's this awesome chase through the city of Coruscant. They go past the rock that we met in the last episode, and I thought even better because now we know what that is. There's Republic gunships chasing them, then you find a Naboo starship as well at the end, and I just thought this is like 10-year-old Sam's dreams all in one place right now. So
it's ironic, isn't it, that obviously, you know, Jar Jar Binks saves Naboo, and it's Naboo that saves Jar Jar Binks' like actor. You know what I mean? Like the Naboo starship is just there, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll hold them off, and then they're all getting gunned down as he flies off in the shiny chrome ship. It's just like, yeah, fair.
And the other thing I wanted to just touch on quickly, I have been very unsure about whether they were kind of aiming Grogu towards being a Mandalorian or eventually being Mandalore and leading the Mandalorians. Obviously, he's probably going to grow up to be 900 years old. And
9 years old.
I kind of get the sense now that is sort of where their long-term thinking that character is going. They are very much pushing the fact that he is an official foundling. He is a Mandalorian, essentially. He's just not old enough to... Well, I think they said he can't, because he can't speak, he doesn't get to read the creed, and that's why he doesn't have his helmet yet. But that's like the only reason why he doesn't have a Mandalorian helmet moment. So, I'm excited to kind of see where that goes, because I've been a bit unsure about it, but I did enjoy his little training sequence.
Absolutely. It was a great episode overall, and I really liked it, and I watched it, and Kate was sat with me, and like, she's not really into Star Wars. She wants me to kind of like sit down and watch Star Wars with her so I can explain some of the bits she doesn't understand. And she's like, oh my God, Grogu is so cute. And, you know, then she's there like watching him do all these things, and she's just like, okay, no, he's actually pretty badass. I'm like, yeah he is. Yeah, he's cool. You know, he's like 60 years old, but he's actually a toddler by like his species standards. So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. It's nice that she's sitting down and watching it with you.
There you go.
So, obviously, again, the question is this week, if you were going to take a scene from The Mandalorian Chapter 20, The Foundling, and you were going to turn it into a Lego set, what scene would you turn into a Lego set?
I'm going to let you go first because I went first last time.
Okay.
When we did this one, because I did obviously Bo-Katan's ship. So, do you know what, Sam? Do you want to go first on this one? Because I feel like now that 10-year-old you has experienced this, I want to get your thoughts.
Very much 10-year-old me. So many sets went through my head in this, and I have to say almost all of the sets that went through my head were from that scene.
I've got the name of an episode. I've got a set name for that part of the episode. If you want to hear it,
go for it.
I'm calling it Kelleran's Run.
Oh, nice.
It's not my pick for a set because I knew you would probably pick it, but at the same time, I'm calling it Kelleran's Run.
That is cool. Obviously, last week I kind of mentioned the Mandalorian Covert, and I still think that would be a cool little set. Again, you've got Paz Vizsla, the Armorer, Bo-Katan, Mandalorian. These are all minifigs that we've got already. So I almost think if they did a Mandalorian Covert, maybe go for like the Mandalorian Battle Pack and having a few variations as well. You can start Mandalorian arming building then. But no, I have gone for the set. I want a speeder bike with Kelleran Beck and Grogu in his little sidecar next to him. Ideally with some clone troopers of some sort chasing him. I think it's unrealistic to think that you would get it in a gunship set and have a full gunship chasing him, which would be awesome. But no, there's no way I can choose any other set than having Kelleran Beck, Jedi Savior, and I want him with 2 lightsabers as well. If they don't give me 2 lightsabers,
if you think about it as well, right, you can imagine the set. You would get a BARC speeder with a sidecar. You could have Kelleran Beck and Grogu. Like, picture the box now, right? So, Kelleran Beck and Grogu there. Beck's got green and blue lightsabers. He's, double blading it and stuff. You've got a couple of 501st troopers circling in on him. Maybe a clone shock trooper as well, because they did make a cameo in the episode. Yeah. So you can picture that one. And then I think that would make sense as well. And then you could also, depending on which way you wanted to pitch it, you could also have a couple of the Naboo royal guards with it as well, like the Naboo security guards with it as well.
Let's go all in on a minifigure. It's a little speeder set. Yeah. We're having 10 minifigs with it.
Do you know what? $39.99.
We'll still pick it up, won't we? But no,
absolutely.
I think obviously it's Order 66. Everybody loves Order 66, or everybody appreciates the scale of Order 66. Like you said, you put a couple of 501st clones in there and people aren't even going to see the fact that Kelleran Beck's in it. It's another 501st battle pack. So yeah, I've got to go for it. I want that Jedi minifig, and I want to put it in a special little box and have it right here next at all times.
Do you know what? That's fine, mate. I thought about it. That was one of my picks, but I had this sneaking suspicion when we spoke about it and you did your recap of the episode. I'm going to have to concede this and let Sam do it.
Yeah, nice, thank you.
You're very welcome. That's because you're my friend, and you know what? I'm nothing but inclusive. So yeah, but yeah, Kelleran Beck's, you could call it Kelleran's Run. Kelleran Beck and Grogu being chased by clone troopers through the city of Coruscant. In the sky lanes. Yeah, 100% go for it.
Give it to me, Lego. Right,
absolutely.
What are you going for then, Josh?
Well, the obvious choice would be to pick what I call Raptor Pursuit, which would be a Raptor, Paz Vizsla's son, Paz Vizsla, Mandalorian Bo-Katan. I'm not going to go for that one because that one is one that Lego would make. So the idea that I'm pitching for Chapter 20 isn't a suggestion made by me. This is a suggestion made by Kate that I quite like.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, Mandalorian Covert Training Arena.
Oh, nice.
So you'd have Grogu, you would have obviously Din Djarin, you would have Bo-Katan, Paz Vizsla, the Armorer, a couple of spare Mandalorians. You'd have we'd have Ragnar versus Grogu. Ragnar would be a custom design. It'd be a new design print, so you'd have 3 green spots where Grogu shot him with the training darts. You could have a couple of bits of sand with it just to kind of give it, that kind of deserty feel to it. Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
That is a great idea. Yeah, I love the idea of having the little paint spots on it as well.
Yeah, and you know what? When she kind of because she said to me after the episode and stuff, she was like, "What are you going to go for?" I said, obviously the obvious one would be the pursuit, through Coruscant, and obviously them going after the Raptor as well. But nah, when she pitched that to me, I thought, no, that is a winner, because that is something that you could actually see people buying just because they would want Grogu with a little dart shooter accessory on his wrist.
Yeah, absolutely. One of again, this just proves how sad we are that Lego is running through my mind at this point. But watching Grogu, the first thing I thought of was, I wonder if I could build the little shooter to go onto my buildable Grogu and see if I can add that to him.
Yeah.
And so I did earlier. I did have a little look at some orange and black pieces, dark grey pieces, to see if I could start piecing one together. So maybe next week that might be what you see stood here.
Yeah, we just kind of alternate around. But yeah, no, I really like the idea of a training arena. That was quite different. It wouldn't even have to be even like a building. You could just have like a buildable cave, a bit of them to stand where they compete, a couple of Mandalorians around, and then if you've got like Mandalorian battle pack, you can add characters to it. So it would make a good like display diorama scene as well.
Yeah, nice. I think it's a great shout. But we will
A very good shout.
We will leave it to the people again to decide what they would go for. This is not so much a vote as in our minifig draft, because I think we are both very much on board with all the sets that we're pitching here.
Yeah,
but it's just interesting to kind of get your thoughts on what you would go
for. One thing that I thought of after the episode, and this isn't one that I'm pitching for a set because I would hate it. It'd be absolute trash, but I know it would appeal to certain parts of the fandom, would be, do you remember when The Last Jedi came out and you had buildable porgs?
Yes.
Buildable raptor babies.
I want a 2-foot one.
Right.
This size. They would be awesome. I love the fact that they brought them back. 100% in series 10 of The Mandalorian, they're going to be flying those things around.
How big is Bo-Katan's shit?
I know. She got 3 of them. You were talking about it last week about just doing like a cockpit thing. And like you were saying how previously we thought it was just like quite a small cockpit space. They fit 3 of those things in. Bo-Katan, Paz Vizsla, Ragnar, Mando. It's absolutely ridiculous. The size of it.
Another 7 Mandalorians on. Yeah. I sat there and was thinking, it's cool and I like what they've done, but I'm thinking to myself,
Mary Poppins bag.
How cramped must they have been?
Yeah, and the noises that those raptors were making as well, that wouldn't have been a fun journey home.
Oh, God. Absolutely not. But it's funny, like, when you sort of watch it back and you think about it and you think to yourself, oh, yeah, that's a plot hole, but I'm going to just ignore it because it's a great episode.
I think because we didn't... So last week we didn't do Lego Life Stories. We cut it for a reason because we wanted to kind of streamline. But another thing that we cut last week that did not go down very well was a just 15 bricks mention. He wasn't happy about it, was he?
No.
And so I'm going to bring it in here because I feel like he's very on my wavelength at the moment. And we've just received a text from him saying, just watch this week's Mando. It made me so happy.
Yeah.
I feel that's how my reaction afterwards.
Yeah, and you know what I'm going to say to you on this one? I think when we plan the next couple of episodes of the podcast, we need to bring him in and get his perspective as well, because I feel like for this, he really enjoyed this segment. So I feel like when we plan another couple of episodes, have him join us, see what he thinks, because at the end of the day, it's, just 15 mentions. That's what he's aiming for. He's aiming for 15 and then he's going to stop harassing us then.
What are we on what episode are we? 18 now.
18, yeah.
I mean, he's featured in a couple and we've mentioned him on pretty much every one other than last week. So he's on 16 now. He's gone past 50.
Yeah.
He's just got to join the crew now.
That's it now. Just give him a permanent slot.
Okay. Another thing, and this is going to be a complete shameless plug. Last week, I uploaded the first Fandom Bricks t-shirt available. We are going to do, we're coming up with ideas, but we are going to do a couple of t-shirts. But there are lots of Star Wars related t-shirts, and I'll kind of put a picture or a link. There will be a link below to the t-shirts. I'm wearing one right now, shameless Bad Batch plug. This is one of the t-shirts on the store. And
I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt you can get from a variety of different outlets.
Lovely. And hopefully the Fandom Bricks ones will be on there. Again, it's a way to support the podcast. Myself and Josh were kind of talking about it, that we actually seem to have had an audience last week out of nowhere. Which was nice, and I think I worked out on Spotify we had over 24 hours worth of streaming.
Wow,
which is way beyond what we've had before, so that was nice. So we're going to try and keep it going, but obviously it takes time and effort, and if we want to review Lego sets and do other things, that takes money as well. So just maybe in a small way to support the podcast if you want to. That's a way of doing it. And whilst I'm on the topic of Bad Batch, leave a comment below or somewhere, or send one of us a message as to whether you would like us to talk about the Bad Batch as well. Josh, I don't know. I'm not sure you've been keeping up with the Bad Batch.
I'm a couple of episodes behind.
Yeah.
So
I have been. The reason why I hadn't pitched it earlier is because I've been very hot and cold on the Bad Batch, but the past 3 or 4 episodes have been top tier Star Wars.
Yeah,
The episode today in particular, I won't give anything away because I know that Josh hasn't seen it yet. But the episode today is like, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, now I understand why they made this show, because I couldn't, it hadn't clicked with me. The whole of first series, I enjoyed watching it, but I hadn't really clicked why are we actually doing this. Now it all seems to be making sense. And so it may be something, if Josh manages to catch up, it may be something that we add in, because we've got the finale coming up in a couple of weeks' time. So that'll be an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah, and if any of you also as well want us to review, say, Star Wars Rebels or the Clone Wars or specific episodes or parts of that, please let us know as well, because again, we kind of want to go shy away from the Mandalorian because it is currently ongoing, and we want to focus on the current series. And obviously, Book of Boba Fett, that's been done. And Kenobi's kind of been done. So Andor could be a possible one, because we actually didn't really speak about that much. No. So if you guys want us to cover, say, like Andor or Clone Wars or Rebels, also let us know as well.
We're always happy to go back and watch Star Wars.
Yeah, even if it's like specific episodes or something, we'll do it for you.
We'll need something to take this segment's place when Mandalorian and Bad Batch finish, which scarily we are halfway through this season of Mandalorian. That's crazy, sad time, isn't it?
I can't cope.
Okay, so we have reached the final part of our show. Now, we've gone complicated this week, haven't we, Josh?
Yeah, my brain hurt trying to design this one.
Big time. I went back and I think I sent Josh a picture a couple of days ago saying doing research, and it was an hour-long video of every Star Wars set that ever came out. So please appreciate the level of research that has gone into this. You won't know that when I say my picks, but there has been some research gone into this. We decided, after having a discussion last week about Lego just churning the same things out over and over again, myself and Josh have decided that we want Lego to churn things out over and over again. And what we're doing... Yeah, there you go. I'll let you do the but.
But we're churning things out that we haven't seen in well over 10 years. So specifically, our criterion for this week's minifigure draft was Lego sets and minifigures from 1999 to 2013 that need a modernized remake or re-release.
Yeah,
so
that haven't been released since. So so as you can...
Yeah.
Does that throw you off?
No, it's more just the fact that I've got 17 names written down on my notepad.
I've got 9, because I figure even if we clash on every single one, hopefully, and I should just be able to pull one out if we did end up, but hopefully I'll get at least 1 or 2 of my picks. So no, I think 9 is enough.
Who won the draft last week, by the way?
Oh, I didn't think we were going to touch on that, actually, Josh. I think.
No, yeah. I won, by the way, guys.
It was a comprehensive win as well.
Oh, like I absolutely annihilated you.
In my head, I was like, everyone loves Therm Scissor Punch. Nope.
Do you know what it was?
No one else has even heard of him.
That was the thing. I sat there and thought, if you hadn't picked Therm Scissor Punch and picked a more contemporary character, you'd have been fine. It was the fact you went niche and people just did not accept it.
Do you know what I thought swayed it for you? And I think I said it afterwards last week, is Cal Kestis. I don't think we're the only ones that are desperate for a Cal Kestis. Yeah. That was a great pick. You went for Nihilus as well. Great pick.
Commander Doom as well.
I have to give props where it's due. You did a good draft last week, Josh. It was a good draft.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping I've done quite well this week as well. I'm aiming 2 for 2.
Well, looking at my list, there's a lot of, I would say, obvious characters, big characters, but actually quite surprising when you look back. Surprising that they haven't done it since. Apart from one of mine, it's not surprising, but I'll talk about that when I get to it.
Okay.
So, is it whose turn is it to go first? Is it you?
It's your turn to go first, because I went first with Commander Doom last week.
Okay, now I've got to be better at strategizing this week. Last week I left Cal Kestis, even though he was on my list, and I left him because I was so desperate to get Therm Scissor Punch in, and I really shot myself in the foot there. So we move on this week, and I know that people are going to shoot me down and people are going to get cross, and I'm sorry, but it is one of the most iconic scenes in all of Star Wars, and I think we need another Slave Leia.
Wow, okay. I mean, have you not learned from your mistake last week?
No. They're doing a cell barge. Apparently, they're doing a UCS cell barge.
Yeah, I knew that one.
So are they just not having minifigs in it? Because how do you have minifigs in that, in a UCSL barge, and not have her?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, but I'm
just saying, it's controversial. I know it is, and I had to start controversial. But the rest of my list is less controversial, which is why I went this one first.
Right, okay. No, don't rate it. No.
He's not having it. He's not having
it.
We'll see.
Okay.
Had to go for it. Had to be different. What's your first pick, Josh?
Do you know what? I'm gonna steer us back to reality a little bit here, everyone. I'm gonna go for a character that is an absolute travesty. His last release was in 2013, and I'm going for Count Dooku.
He was third on my list.
Yeah, no, Count Dooku because we've had the Clone Wars version of him with the really weird like print
face.
Yeah. The 2013 one is fantastic. It's shocking how we've not had, it's 2025 is 20 years since Revenge of the Sith. So if they don't do one by 2025, they're never doing one.
No. And for so long, people have been asking for a Geonosian arena again.
Yeah.
I think that would be a huge seller, whether it is a display set or whether they do almost like a Master Builders, like a sort of Cloud City, Mos Eisley Cantina type build. But yeah, again, this was one of the ones. And when I say we did research, this was one of the ones that I was like, I can't believe it's been 10 years since we've had a Duke. How have they managed to go that long without having... He's
when you realise
such an
how
iconic
many
character.
sets... Like how many sets these characters have actually appeared in and they've not been released since. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, great shout. Okay, sticking with Dooku themed, my next one is a little bit less obvious, I would say, but again, I think it's going to appeal to a wide audience. We've had his brother many times, but we haven't had a Savage Press minifigure for a long time.
Yeah. I would say it was like 2011, 2012 was the last one.
And I think, especially with things like the Dark Trooper and Wrecker's kind of body armor that they've got, Savage Press has got like that big kind of shoulder pads and things like that going on. I think that they could really like completely update his design. Again, he's very old school Clone Wars version minifig print. I think that would be a great one. And again, a set with Darth Maul. Darth Maul always sells well. So yeah, I went with Savage for my second pick.
Nice, solid. That doesn't redeem you for your first pick, but that's a good pick.
I don't think anything will now.
Yeah, no. That's fair. For my second pick, again, I'm surprised by this one because it's almost formulaic in a way of how they do it. But I have picked Wedge Antilles.
Has there really not been a wedge?
No.
Wow.
There's not been a wedge, I think, since like 2011 or something like that.
That's a madness.
So, and you think about how many X-Wings they've released in the last 10 years.
I mean, we were only talking about this last week about how we'd love to have like a range of X-Wings or at least some add-on sets where you could change your X-Wing around.
Yeah, and it just shocks me that we got an updated Big Starklighter, but we've not had a Wedge Antilles.
Yeah, even I, who have just proclaimed how much research I've done, can't believe that there hasn't been a wedge. I almost think that was one that I was I don't know how I missed it, but I must have just assumed that there has been a more recent one, but obviously not, especially with like Rise of Skywalker and things coming out. They never did a wedge.
No, exactly.
Madness. Okay, great pick. Okay, the next pick on my list is the most obvious pick, and it's the one that the most people have been crying out for a long time, especially since we got the 212 AT-TE last year. We've just had the Cody helmet. Where's our Rex? We haven't had a Phase 2 Rex since 2030.
He was second on my list.
Yeah, I mean, I almost felt bad picking this, but I do want a Rex as much as everybody else wants a Rex.
Yeah.
I feel we've got 2 501st battle packs now. How do you not have Rex in there? I'll talk about others later. When we get to it, but yeah, this one I assumed was going to be on both of our lists, but it seems like an obvious pick. But you've got to have Rex in.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think it's like 2013 was the Phase 2 Rex, and it's scary. Like they've done the 501st Battle Pack, they've done other sets in between. They've not released one, so it's shocking, to be honest with you.
Crazy.
And for a character that's been in Rebel, I mean, the last Rex they did was obviously of that time. prototype was in Rex's ATTE, wasn't it? You know, the Rebels one, but where he's actually young, prime of his life.
Yeah,
phase 2. They've not done one. Yeah.
Yeah, my pick is phase 2 Rex rather than
just for clarification
Rex in general.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
that's
I'd like a phase 1, but phase 2 is my pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Phase 1 or phase 2? I'm happy with either.
It seems. I guess it just seems fitting that we now have Lego are aware of how important these characters are. They've just put the helmets out. I finished Rex this week. He's here. He has joined Cody on the shelf.
Nice.
So yeah, it seems like an obvious one that they haven't done.
Yeah, no, solid. For my third pick, I am going to pick another character that has not really received a lot of love from Lego, but has been an integral part of Star Wars Rebels. Not Star Wars Rebels, sorry, Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Has had a book or two and some comics. Even had a romance with Quinlan Voss, and that is Asajj Ventress.
Nice. Has there been? I'm sure there's been a more recent version of Asajj, hasn't there?
No.
Seamus will tell us.
I think they did like Anakin's prototype starfighter, and that was like 2014. So okay. I'm just stretching it, but I'm talking like Clone Wars style.
Clone Wars era.
Asajj Ventress. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There was the 2014 Anakin's prototyping. Yeah, but I get what you mean. Like in that outfit, like her kind of blue Clone Wars top and things. Yeah, nice.
I'm talking like Clone Wars style Asajj Ventress, not like that one. Yeah,
and her print was in like the Clone Wars style that everybody kind of agrees was horrific. So yeah, she definitely needs good update. Great show.
Thank you.
What number are we on? We're on number 4, aren't we?
Number 4, yeah.
Oh, I feel like I've got a decision to make. You took Dooku away from me. Okay, my next one, I'm going just as obvious as Rex, and it's my second layer on the list. We've just had the Boosh helmet, and so I want an updated Boosh minifig. Like you said earlier, we are likely to get a Jabba Hutt diorama, so she's likely to appear in that. But again, it's this one I almost picked because of the frustration of how much these minifigs are going for. These 10-year-old plus minifigs that we haven't seen around just skyrocket in price. And this is one that, again, it's an iconic scene. Lego know that. They've made the helmet. I just feel like this is one that you'd like in your collection without having to spend horrific amounts of money on it. So Boosh is my 4th pick.
Nice. I've got to respect that. Again, it's a good option. Still doesn't give you some redemption, but it's still a good choice. I've got choices to make because obviously I've got 17 names on my list, and I've got to try and decide what I think would make for a really fun mini figure draft. For my next pick, I'm going to pick a character that is one of my all-time favorite Jedi ever. I'm picking Kit Fisto.
Oh my god! How have I missed Kit Fisto?
It was like I think 2011 was Palpatine's Arrest. I think he was the last one.
Oh my word! That is what a shout.
Tragic for you, but it's a great shout.
Absolutely tragic. I feel like you've just won. Just with those 2 words, Kit Fisto.
Oh
yeah, 2012 was the last time when it was the caped Kit Fisto in Palpatine's Arrest.
Yeah, I don't know, was it 2011 or 2012?
Yeah, what a shout. Again,
solid.
Massively needs an updated figure. There is very little detail on that fig, and he's a character that deserves it. I mean, were you thinking Palpatine's Arrest Kit Fisto, or are you thinking Clone Wars topless swimming Kit Fisto?
I was thinking Lair of General Grievous Kit Fisto.
Nice, yeah. Great.
With Kit Fisto's R6 Starfighter.
Yeah, nice. Lovely. Okay,
there you go.
We'll call it a day there, though.
Yeah, it's concede now.
Yeah, that's 2 wins in a row you're going to take, Josh. Okay.
Hey, I don't know, mate. It depends if people take pity on you.
Pity on me. Okay, so again, I've got a decision to make here because I've got a few names down that I'm not sure where to go. But I think I'm trying to think which is going to make the best minifig. I'm going to go for it. He's a cult favourite. Everybody loves him. You've gone Wedge Antilles, so I'm going another Rebel pilot, and I'm going Jack Porkins.
Okay, when you said cult favourite, my heart left my
body. Oh, you've got one lined up, but yeah. Jack Porkins. I mean, that Porkins,
guy. You know, he gets blown up, but iconic character nonetheless.
Absolutely. And yeah, we've talked about it before. Rebel pilots. We need more of them. Bigs. We've had plenty of bigs now. Give us some check.
Yeah, there's been 2 big Dark Lighters.
Yeah.
So 1999 and 2017. Yeah.
That's plenty.
That's enough. Have they ever done a Jack Porkins minifigure? When was the last one they had?
They did do a Jack. I couldn't tell you the year. I've got Bricklink up here. They have done one, and his helmet printing was really nice on it. It was, where are we? 2012. They did
okay,
one.
so yeah.
And it was in the X-Wings, the 2012 X-Wing, playset X-Wing. So, I think I really like his helmet printing. Obviously, Biggs, he's got that lovely checkered design, but Jack Porkins has got like the big 2 yellow Rel insignias with the red stripes going down. I think it's a nice helmet design. On the 2012 one, they had nice little chubby cheeks on there for him. So it's a lovely minifig. Let's let him have it.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you know what? You've gone for a Rebel pilot, so yeah, I'm gonna allow it. Right. So for my last pick, depends how nice I want to be or how just straight up I want to be.
Just go for it.
Do you know what? For my final pick, I'm going to pick a cult favourite, one that is on every collector's wish list. It's a character that does not get the recognition that they deserve and needs a modern remake, and I wish they'd have made him when they did the UCS gunship, and that's Jedi Bob.
Lovely. Gotta go Jedi Bob. He was on my list, but I just thought, I don't know what I thought. I thought, he's such a classic. If they updated him, wouldn't you just want the same one again? He was perfect.
Yeah, just Jedi Bob as he was, just with like a flesh skin tone, would have been fine.
Oh yeah, take it.
Yeah, that's fine. Why they didn't put him in the UCS gunship, I don't know.
I mean, there are so many things wrong with the UCS gunship, not namely the fact that they put the Imperial logo on it to start with as well.
We'll talk about that.
That really did make us question Lego in general.
Absolutely.
Josh, you have done another wonderful minifig draft. I think you're on a bit of a roll at the moment.
Yeah, this is it now, isn't it? I mean,
so last week you took, although I didn't want to talk about it, you took 2/3 of the vote, which is large. It was 66 to 34%. Are you going higher this time?
I don't know. We'll see what happens. It depends how much people want to go for your votes. Just go from there. I think I've gone very Jedi and Sith heavy with this pick. So
if I went down my list, when I was starting to put a list together, I realised how many separatist people we have not had in a long time. So some of the few people that were on my list straight away were like Dooku, Poggle the Lesser, Zam Wessel was another one on the list.
Aura Singh was on mine.
Yeah. So they haven't dived into that for a long time. And then, so they were kind of the ones. I did think, obviously, Jabba's a big fig, but they obviously haven't done a Jabba for a while. But I did look back at the 2013 one and think, what more are they really going to do? So that realistically, it's going to be a very similar sort of thing. So what was on the rest of your list?
I had quite a few clones. So I had Commander Wolf was one option.
Nice.
I had Mon Mothma would have been an interesting one.
Yeah.
Crix Maydeen as well was in the same set as Mon Mothma, which was 2009. I had one of my Holy Grail minifigures that I hope to collect one day, which is the Bomb Squad Trooper as well. What else? I had a tactical droid and a commando droid as well. Nice. An honorable mention of a droid. And I also had, just because it was niche and I quite like the design, was Embo from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, nice. Embo. I've got Embo as a minifig and Aura Singh from the... Actually, didn't they come in the bounty? When was that Bounty Hunters pack?
2011, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. But yeah, though that Embo is a great minifig. The Aura Singh, I've always thought didn't look quite right. So again,
it's the Clone Wars printing.
Yeah, it needs updating. 2011 was when they came out. So yeah. That was a good set. Great shout. I mean, you had a long list of good characters there.
Yeah,
This is sort of how I went through. I don't know if that's going to show up because the light's there. But the way that I went through mine was I wrote down a huge list of names of characters. So I watched the first half of that video up until 2013 and wrote down all the characters that I would like as a minifig. And then I watched the second half of the video and crossed off all the ones that appeared again. So I was left with a list of the ones that I could choose from. So that was interesting just to go through. I did, to be fair, it's an hour long video, but I did watch it on like 2 speed. And
yeah, exactly.
Like whizzing through it.
No,
great draft, Josh.
Thank you very much. I try, and I think it'll be up to the people to decide who wins now.
I don't know how to claw this back any. I feel like the first few minifig drafts, I feel like I've won quite a few. Obviously, when we have guests on, it's difficult to win a minifig draft with a guest on. They always seem to bring out the big gun. I mean, we've been shot down by things like Amidala before. Like, you're not gonna win that, are you?
That's a good shout for a minifigure as well. The Royal the Royal Queen Amidala was in the 2011 Gungan sub.
Yeah,
that's not been re-released since.
That would be one. Lego wouldn't
shout out to the all-time Yashin.
Yeah, more Gungan subs. Actually, to be fair, you spoke about that the other day about the Gungan subs, and I was tempted to go away and make a micro photo of that, and then I started getting the blue pieces out, and I thought Mantis, and so this is here. So at some point this week, I'll do a video on how to make this microfighter Mantis, because we're pretty much resigned to the fact that Lego are just never going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. We can live in custom land, can't we? And mock land.
Absolutely. So there we go. Okay, well, another great week talking about Star Wars and Star Trek this week.
Yes, and a very good minifigure draft as well.
By one of us.
By my standards, you know.
We'll see,
right, mate. So where can the lovely people find you on all your socials?
Don't find me anywhere other than the Fandom Bricks on YouTube. Everybody just go there now.
Obviously
still bite-sized bricks, but we want people to go to Spotify and YouTube and listen and watch the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not already subscribing to the Fandom Bricks podcast, please go and do so. Sam and I have so many great ideas we want to introduce to the podcast, and we want to get you guys involved, and we can't do that without all your support as well. But if you do want to find our other content as well, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at the Galaxy of Bricks as well. And then if you've got any ideas for segments you want to include in the podcast, get in touch with either of us, or if you want to try and become a guest on the podcast as well, please get in touch with us as well, and we'll try and include you if we can, fitting in with our time frame and stuff.
The only stipulation is that you build more than 50 bricks a day.
Yeah, and you collect more than just Gungan subs.
Otherwise, you can come on.
Yeah, you're fine.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, people that have stuck around to listen this far in. And if you have, make sure you like, subscribe, all that YouTuber nonsense. And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. See you all soon.
Nice. There we go.
Oh.